If you're new to our channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button.
Well, Holly, let's talk about the topic for the day here, which is a number of vegetables that you can grow in partial shade that you maybe didn't think you could grow. Now, there is over 40 plus vegetables that you can grow in partial shade. Now, we are not all fortunate enough to have the availability of an open field 12, 14 hours a day. We are a lot of places in urban settings or have trees that shade parts of our gardens. So partial shade, I want to define that. That meaning an adequate amount of sunlight for 4 to 6 hours a day. That's the window of safeness there. Anything less than that really is not going to do anything. Any more than that, then your opportunities open up to the other vegetables. Now, Holly, you have a saying in regards to what grows when and how it grows with the roots and the greens. How does that work?
Yeah, so if you grow it for the roots or the fruit, you need full sun. If you grow it for the leaves or the greens, it can have partial shade. And
that falls in the line of some of these. That's about 99% accurate on that for most things. So one of the ones that it's a perennial.
But go ahead. Right. One thing you want to keep in mind is that even if you grow these in partial shade and they typically want full sun, you're just going to probably have less of a harvest or smaller fruits, smaller vegetables.
Right. Asparagus is one on the top of the list, which asparagus is a great early spring vegetable, or I guess it's a fern of some sort there. But it can grow, once you get it established after 2 years, you can start harvesting the third year, and it will grow for 30 to 50 years in the one spot, continues to come back year after year. The only thing I think when I see that, and that was one of the vegetables that we compiled, is if you're going to have it for 30 or 50 years, you want to put it in a spot where you're going to have full sun because you want the most production out of that 3-week period that it produces during the year.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, yeah, definitely you want to keep that in mind.
Beets is another one.
Yeah, beets, we've grown them in partial shade, and obviously we know the difference. I've noticed the difference when they're in full sun versus partial shade. Broccoli or bok choy.
Right.
So that's kind of a green. It's like a cabbage. It's like a Chinese cabbage. And then broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, all those are in the same family along with cauliflower.
Horseradish is a perennial that grows in partial shade. So if you have the side of the house, you can throw that in there, and that will grow for years.
Right, and then like any type of greens, like the mustard greens, mizuna, lettuce, spinach, all those, Swiss chard. Swiss chard is nice because you can put that with as like an edible landscaping.
Foodscaping.
So you can put that like a foodscape. So you can put that in your house, maybe like in a garden bed, and it's still an edible, but it looks nice and leafy and pretty. In
places where you're not supposed to grow stuff in the front yard, you can mix that in with your flowers beds there, and it'll work just fine.
Yes.
Radishes can grow in partial shade. Now, again, radishes are 30-day maximum, in most cases, root crop. So even in the early spring, when there's no real leaves on the trees, you can get that to grow without really any problem at all. 30 days, 18 to 30 days is what that takes.
Right. Yeah, so radishes, and then rhubarb, that's a perennial.
And we grow that in partial shade in containers.
In containers, yeah.
This will be the third year.
There's ways you can, do different things to get the results you want. And then rutabaga is another root crop that you can grow in partial shade.
And we find the most successful rutabaga to grow is in the fall. We usually plant it about the first week in August. It takes 90 days to reach a mature state. So that's where we find that. We've tried to grow in the spring. It just doesn't work. It likes those cool nights and not the nights where it continues to get warmer and warmer on that.
Right.
Peas, that's an easy one to grow in partial shade.
And then I want to note, because peas, since they're a spring crop, the reason why they're a spring crop is because they don't do well once we get into longer days. It's not because of the heat of the day.
Day sensitive.
It's because of longer,
light sensitive.
Day sensitive, light sensitive. So if you grow in partial shade, you might get a longer harvest.
Well, and that's the thing with the leafy greens, the lettuces, the spinach. You're mimicking the days being not as long because you're tricking it by putting it in that partial shade. So if the day is like, let's pick a number, 11 hours long, and you have partial shade for 3 hours, that plant is really thinking that it's about 9 hours of sunlight, that type of thing. So you're mimicking that. Garlic can be grown in partial shade. We planted some spring garlic. That'll be up on the website this weekend. We just did a few bulbs because it needs cold cycles in order to develop and split into cloves. So we did a small number. We do about, and this is no exaggeration, about 120 bulbs of garlic we harvest each spring. And it's a phenomenal crop, easy crop to grow. You call it, Holly, stupid easy to grow.
I do. It is stupid easy to grow. And people are so impressed by it when you bring them a head of garlic. I grew this. Wow, that's so cool. And you're like, yeah, I don't know. You just put it in the ground and it does its thing. But we had to learn that. We had to learn how to grow it correctly because I think we were trying too hard. We made a number of mistakes, and we got a hold of the guy in St. Louis. He's called the Garlic Guy because he grows between 20 and 25,000 bulbs of garlic for the St. Louis Garlic Festival each year. And we said, hey, here's what we're doing. Can you help us? And he said, well, here's what you're doing wrong. So we followed his recommendations and have had phenomenal garlic ever since. And you can go to the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com and just search growing great garlic or garlic. And we've got a number of videos in which instructs you very easily how to do that. But it's best, we always plant it the second Tuesday in October each year, regardless of the conditions. So that's always something we look forward to doing. And it's really fun. I think it's fun to harvest, too.
And the hardneck, you get the scapes, which is a luxury or a delicacy that you do not get with the softneck garlic. Right. And we'll talk more about that. Another one is carrots. Carrots can be grown in partial shade. We used to try to grow carrots in the ground. Just failed at it miserably. And we've gotten the root maker containers, the grow bags, and the raised beds, and we're never going to go back to contain carrots in the ground again because we grow it in that loose medium, that potting mix or that compost in the containers, and we're getting 8, 12, 14-inch carrots of all colors of the rainbow because we plant a variety of carrots, and it's worked. We're never going to go back to ground garden carrots.
Right, we had some awesome carrots, so definitely make sure if you're not doing a raised bed, make sure your soil is just super nice and loose, and you have a nice mold.
Leeks can be grown in partial shade if you're going to pick some of those up. It's too late now to start them from seed, so if you go to Bloomhells or your garden center, wherever you may be located in the country, leeks can be grown, and it's not a category like onions, short, middle, or short, neutral, and long day. Leeks will grow no matter where you're at in the world. So, and they're easy to grow. You don't have to worry about bulbing or anything. They grow. We've had phenomenal success with leeks, bigger than broom handles. It really has worked well for us on that.
Yep, so those are some things that you can grow in the partial shade. And then I think you mentioned here that you want to make sure you water.
Of course, yeah, watering
properly.
Which we have forgotten to. Okay, it happens to all of us.
Yeah.
And like you said, Holly, earlier, these will grow slower. They won't grow to the desired size that you thought it should if it was in full sun, but you're going to get production off of it. And definitely water. And the watering is going to be different than the full sun garden because these are going to be in partial shade. The ground's not going to evaporate the moisture as quickly.
Right. And we had a question when I think we were in Brookfield. They had asked, they said their backyard faces west, so they don't get much morning sun, but they get that super hot, strong western summer sun. And they wanted to make sure that was enough to grow tomatoes.
Yes.
And now my sister has the same type of yard where she gets, her front of her house faces east, back of the house faces west, and she gets phenomenal tomatoes. So that's definitely something. Just because you don't have like a south yard or a specific area, you still can get full sun based on where you are. Right.
Well, and with the partial shade, and we're up against the break here. With the partial shade, you want to be aware of it because it's a more damp and area, and slugs and other insects like it because it's not got that heat that the summer sun provides because that's in that partial shade location. Thank you for checking out the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener radio show. For more, go to the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com. For full link to in-studio video and podcast replay of Season 1, Season 2 underway and added weekly, tweet us at TWVG Show or hashtag TWVG to be part of the program.